Hello, neighbor, and welcome to another edition of TJ Plays with some AI stuff. Since no one's asked me, I thought I'd show you some of these new cursor features that have recently come out. And then a little bonus content, you get to see some of the latest updates to Story UI. So, what you're looking at right here is Cursor. What you're seeing in the middle right here is a browser in Cursor. This isn't super new. They released this a couple of releases ago, but this might look familiar. On the left here is my file browser. So this is a React version of Storybook. And on the right here is the little AI panel that you're used to communicating with your code base. So let's go ahead and get a story going, just so that way we can get that happening. I can chat a little bit about some of the new Story UI features and then what I'm about to demo. Generate a 2x2 4-grid column of some event cards. 2x4 grid column. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So all that's happening. There's some couple of new features here that I could talk about. You can have visual references now, so you can upload images of things. Oh, this is cool. So they have this self-healing mode. So if it detects like an import error, it'll check that. And so instead of delivering you a file error, it'll actually try to go through a couple of cycles and fix it for you. So that way it doesn't just like give you this like broken story. So whatever it was, it looks like it fixed it, which is cool. A couple of other things. Now we have all of the top 3 language model providers and then the top 4 models for those providers. So that's pretty cool. So let's get into it. What did it create? We got some cards. Awesome. So that's what we're looking for. So here's some music event, stuff, all this. So that really isn't the impressive part. The part that I wanted to talk about was this visual editor part, because it was something that I think plays nicely with Story UI and the whole context-based design system workflow, because it was something that I was planning on building and did build that was in very, very beta mode for Story UI, but ended up abandoning it just because it felt like it didn't belong in it, and it was just too much overhead for what its core purpose was. But I'm glad I didn't carry on with it, because Cursor built this cool little feature. So to demo that, I'm gonna go into this isolation mode, which is just a feature of Storybook. You can just it's like pops the story out of the iframe. And then I'm going to open up this little panel, which should look pretty familiar. It's kind of like just a Webflow or a Figma style panel that has all these different properties. And then you can highlight all the different elements that are displaying on the in the interface. So just to keep this demo not super long, I'm not going to make a whole lot of changes to it, but I just want to show that changes can be made. And I'll get into that in a second. So I'm going to highlight like this container, and I'm going to say, all right, so now, this is in a grid. Let's say I want this in a row. So did I highlight the right one? So we have that. Let's make that into a row. Oh, let's see, padding 16. Am I on the right one? No, I'm on the body. Let's see. So on this is where I want to be. Okay, so now it's showing that there's the grid that's selected. Let's say we want it flexed, and we'll put it on a row. So boom, that's ugly. It's not what we wanted, but it did make the change. And then let's just change one of these button colors. Let's say instead of that blue, we're going to dig into the tokens, which it has an awareness of, and let's change it to like, I don't know, this cool like teal color. All right, great. So it's already showing that I made 6 edits. So I'm going to go ahead and apply those. Now, the reason that I'm just weary of how many edits it makes is because it tracks all those edits, and it makes the changes to the edits the same way that you would if you were making any code updates. So if I were to go through here and change like 10 button colors and then update the layout to a certain layout and then drag and rearrange a lot of these different cards, then it tracks all of those and then it treats them as like separate updates, because it wants to make sure that it's actually fulfilling on the update that you did in this kind of visual builder piece. So you can see everything that it's going through over here. It's talking about the 1 through 4 changes, all of the different pieces that it went through. There was a change background color, change display from flex to grid. And then the 1 through 4 that I did was just me kind of searching around, figuring out what element was the container that actually had the layout applied to it. And then it goes through, it's going through some stuff. I'm going to accept that and let it go. And then as it keeps going, it might do this thing where it kind of flashes back to the old view. But I think it's just because it's going through those changes one by one. And then it changed all the buttons to teal, which isn't exactly what we want, but it's still working through. Hopefully it figures it out, and then it'll update just the one button that was changed. And it didn't actually. It changed all the buttons. That's not exactly what we want. So maybe it's more of a AI thing to blame. But the cool thing is that you can keep iterating over it. So it's just like any AI where you ask it to do a thing and it may not get it 100%, but now I can kind of go back to the actual story, and here it is. It's in Storybook as the actual story. You could see it in the docs mode, and you can see it here. It updated the actual story to be whatever it was that you wanted it to be, because the original generation may not have nailed it. So the idea is that you can generate these like really complex layouts. You can do some data tables, and you could do some dashboards. And if the dashboard doesn't have the right layout, or if it doesn't have the right color for certain things, you can rearrange it, or you can update any of those values, and then you can save it or continue to iterate on it, and then you'll have that actual story file that you can use. So I thought this was just a really good way to pair this new functionality in Cursor with some of the stuff that Story UI gives you, because it really helps increase the fidelity of the output of Story UI. So now you really have like ultimate flexibility over the things that you prompt into existence using your own component library. And yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks, everybody.